Alright, so this is something I started months ago and never finished that I'm going to do a video on now that I've got these coming out and finished. That's my little bit bulkier bait that I'm going to offer. And then, well, yeah, I got one. I just don't have a finished one. Here's the caravan. Well, there's the cast. There's the original master. There's the cast. Now, well, there's the little feller I'm offering that anyone can throw. I just got to clean them up. Anyway, yeah. I need to clean this up and finish it. I really would love to have a wood bait. Alright, hold on. Alright, anyway, I want to finish this one because I really think it'd be neat to have a wood glide bait, but I've already made a new iteration where I've really thinned it down from wide top, thin bottom. But that's a whole different subject. That's what we're wanting to talk about. So I made this. It's just a standard dowel you can get. I think it's about 1 inch. So I've always wanted to make a big rattler, and this is what I'm coming up first. I did this on a belt sander. I like that profile, that head shape. I need to refine it a little more. But how long is it? Something like 8 inches, probably 8.5. And while I was at it, I was like, you know what? Let's just make a gigantic one, a ridiculous one. If I ever get back on the river from Muskie, I'll throw it from Muskie, and that is like a 12-inch rat. But yeah, let's go ahead and finish them. Or let's finish the 8-inch. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do these joints. Do I want to hollow them out or do I want to cut slots? I'm going to have to get over here because I can't look through the phone. Gotta be careful with the dribble. Looking through your phone, that's the kind of stuff that happens. This little bit, the bigger ones don't slip, but this tiniest one will slip down as you apply pressure. articulate more, so I'm gonna have to order longer screw eyes for this lure. Yeah. Maybe take a little bit off the corners, but I think I'm pretty sure it was Marlin Baits or maybe Engineered Angler that taught me this, but if you drill straight through, you get a hole at the exact same point on each side. And this hand drill is absolutely the most accurate you can be. Because you can flip it up and make sure you're in line that way and in line that way. We're gonna drill straight through. It just takes a second longer. It's got this nifty little spinner, you can palm it. My fingers get tired. I guess now that I've got a pilot hole, I can cheat. And you'll end up with that. I need to get a better set. This is just a Harbor Freight cheapie. This one's slightly too small for my big eyes. And then the next size up is too big, so they look weird. There'll be little eyes and a big hole. I could just order for it, but I'm just going to get a millimeter set. Right now, this is just a hobby, so I'm using what I got. Everyone should use what they got. You know? It's lure building. It ain't got to be fancy. It ain't got to be you ain't got to have the best. You can literally make this out of a dowel and sandpaper. Or a razor knife. You know, my head shape's weird, but I wanted it because I thought it was mouse-like and would cut through the water. But don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. It's not complicated. It is not complicated. Those look even. It don't matter if they are or not, but yeah. That's how you get straight up. And just to show you, a lure looks like junk. Like this, right? Looks like junk. And I ain't finished drilling it out, but you put an eyeball on it and suddenly it changes, you know. Ooh, it looks like a lure. Yeah. Same thing for my piece of dowel rat. It needs a paint job and sanded, but you put an eyeball on it and then suddenly, oh, it's a lure. A big one. We live in a world where lures have gotten super expensive, and I understand on the handmade baits, wooden baits, man. These, you put a lot of time. Even this dowel one takes a lot of time. It's your time that costs money. It's the same thing with the resin baits. You know, you're cutting a lot of carving time down, but you still got a hand fit. The sprues have got to be cut off and sanded. That's what it looks like out of the mold. I make crappy molds out of silicone, so the sprues look weird, but that comes off, and then you still got to sand it and finish it. You know, and then you can leave guides in, but I've still got to ream those out and fit. So I understand why they want hundreds of dollars, but still, you know. Two hooks or three? Make sure you're keeping it straight. gonna use this one I'm working on. See how much better it looks with an eyeball? Versus here, you're like, oh God, man. But anytime you put a eyeball in your lure, it's gonna start looking right. So don't let people judge your stuff. And who cares if people judge it? You know, like some guy you've never met on the internet says something, you're gonna get, no, man. Make your stuff and fish with it and be happy. And don't worry about what some dude, girl on the internet says about your stuff. You know, you're never gonna meet that guy. What's the matter? So even with a bigger hook, right there. It's gonna look far forward, but I like having stuff if it gets headshot, I want the hooks to engage. By the way, that's that lipless I just showed you out of wood, the master. That center, I'm just eyeballing all this. This stuff don't have to be perfect. You just try to get it as perfect as we can. All it's got to do is hold a hook and catch a dang old whopper for us, and we're happy. Right? I got to get some longer screw eyes, especially for the joints on this. I've never made something this big, so all I've got is 1 inchers, which are fine for holding these hooks. When you start unscrewing them and adjusting the joints, it's not quite enough for the range of articulation. I don't feel comfortable. They'll probably be fine, but I'd get a little nervous on a 10-pounder or bigger. Or a big old muskie. I never catch anything on that middle hook, but I say that it's happened before. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put a middle one in or not. I should. That is pretty straight down the middle, huh? Yeah, I know, I ain't no marlin. He's got some fancy ways of centering up everything where he wants it. I'm just going to use the old Mark I eyeballs. Get us a pilot hole here. Let me go ahead and get two, hold on. Alright, not bad for a very, very beginner lure builder, huh? Just showing you guys what you can do. It's very nice. So for a tail, let's see. Probably make it so you can. Me and a buddy were talking, and a shoelace would be a perfect lasting tail, but I think I'll put the screw eye on it so I can use a trick worm. Not bad for a hand center job, is it? Woo! Woo! You can do a lot better with your eyes than you can, and there's ways to cheat, find center, but you don't sweat the small stuff, guys. These things kind of look like crap, right? But I absolutely promise you, these things catch fish, right? It's got, most people don't realize it, but that is a straight out, that's an exact copy of a shad side profile. I just changed some things up here. I went deep here so it'd be narrow so they could get to the belly hook, so it'd be easier for a smaller fish to come up and get bit. And I carried the profile down, but I went deep to give it space. And if it's big enough to go for a headshot, you ain't got to worry about that. He's going for the headshot. He's big enough to eat that anyway. He's going to get hooked up. The smaller fish are the ones that usually come up and nip the butt. So slim profile should help them get hooked up. We're not chasing a bunch of little ones most of the time anyway, are we? But I'm trying to help the little dinky dinks get their 5 minutes of glory, their breath of fresh air out of the water. They make a drill attachment. I've just used what I got. And I'll put one of the little screw eyes, the bait keeper things on here, screw a trick worm tail to it. I've got some Lexan. I'm going to make a lip out of it if I need, but I'm going to see if it'll do things without a lip. That's why I did that head shape. Maybe I can work it like a spook. But I do have material to make a lip that I'll slot and put a lip in if I find that it's needed. It's a big old rat, ain't it? I'm gonna catch a smallmouth on this. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I just wanted to do a quick. Sorry, I used a belt sander, Harbor Freight belt sander, but you could absolutely do this with just a piece of sandpaper. Put a piece of flat sandpaper down and just do this to get that shape, right? This shape too. I wouldn't even sweat it. I would take a knife. Let's pull a marlin here and just I'll do this one, the gigantic one, in a minute or next, but I just wanted to do a quick video, you know? I need to shape this one. And don't worry about profiling them too much, guys. I mean, I've got some ideas sketched in, but I'm not sticking to that. It's going to make it too thin, it'll break. So I've learned not to let your imagination run too wild. Just cut you a strip of sandpaper. If you have a razor, you can remove a lot from the side by just taking and doing that. It's best to have lines like Marlin does. I don't. So it's kind of dumb. Razors are cheap though. You can remove a lot of material quick with a razor. You don't have to worry about it being too even. It's nice if you can keep it even on both sides, but you'll be able to straighten all that out with this. Just start rounding it over. Well, if y'all could see what I'm doing here. And they will pretty much even themselves out. And if you have to, you can go to one side. But for the most part, it's funny how the pressure works like that to even everything out. And then you'll start rounding it over and it'll be smooth instead of looking unnatural. I want to narrow it down a little bit, maybe. I don't know. That's really thin. This is, I suggest, if you're going to do this, use 3/4 inch wood. This is 1/2 inch. Because I'm trying to make lightweight baits that everybody could throw on their everyday setups. So I'm playing around with the thinner stuff. If anyone's interested in anything I make. Oh. And don't be afraid to play with things. I've learned more by just doing. You should never be afraid to do something or try. And the internet warriors are going to tell you it looks like junk and blah blah blah. Don't let that bother you. Because if you live your life worrying about what everyone else says, then you'll never do anything. It's some guy you're never ever going to meet, and you probably already catch so many more fish than them anyway. So why would you waste your time worrying about their opinions? That's a tragedy. Be careful with a fresh one because it will cut quick. That 120 grit. And see, just that quick, I got a nice... I need to do a little more here, huh? But it's starting to look appropriate. Starting to look the part. Can't wait for some troll to tell me I shouldn't cut towards myself. I'm like 3 foot away from this behind this camera. And you probably shouldn't. But if I want to get it on camera, I can't change the angles where I got to mount my phone. So that's just how it's got to be. One bit. And it magically almost works out to where it just matches the sides. It's kind of crazy. And it don't have to be perfect. I want to reiterate that. See how much better it looks already. Put an eyeball in. I don't know if I can put one up that high. How much more shaping am I going to do to the head? We're going to call that good. That's just a little cheap vise off Amazon, like a 20 bucks, 15 bucks, something. It's nice to have. You don't have to have it. Do I want to narrow the head? Just a little bit. I should do this on the belt sander, but I'm going to show you all. Lay it down, get it flat, tilt. It's not going to be the best job. Be kind of light and careful until you get a flat spot. Once you get a flat spot, it'll hold that flat spot unless you change something pretty drastically. See, it finds the flat spot. Mark out the eye. So you drill perpendicular, you start drilling. Then you make sure you're lined up this way, and you can change it. And lined up this way, and you'll have a straight hole. It don't look like it because I'm moving this drill around, but it'll find a sweet spot the deeper it goes, I promise. See, it's already found the sweet spot. Once it finds a sweet spot, you take your drilling sheet, and you'll have 2 holes, the exact same spot on both sides. Now be careful, because the more pressure and faster you go, this will eat, and you'll be going slow and it won't eat, and then you'll rip that trigger, and next thing you know, it's ate too much. So be slow with the Forstner bits, because they will eat. That's one of my very first drawings. I never finished it because I didn't like it. I decided, you know what? We're going to finish it anyways. Somewhere along the lines, I decided this was the better design. And you can tell there ain't much difference. This is just a thick boy. I've got a model now that comes down to half the size, tapers from wide. Just a much better looking model, but this one acts great in the water, in the current. When you start messing with dimensions and getting thin like that, they kind of go crazy, but I'm working on it. This is just something I'm playing with, you know? All right, we'll pick this back up another time. I got to go